Welcome back to another episode of The Real Teachers of Atlanta. I am Nikki. This is Joya and Ty. We are on all social media handles at Real Teachers of Atlanta. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Today's episode, we're going to dive right into, I like to call it the whitewashing of African American history, of Black history. And let's get into it.
We got the queens in the house, y'all. Real Teachers of Atlanta.
Hi, I'm Mrs. P. Smith, the Mama Bear at school, your favorite ELA and SPED teacher, but always teaching my students about business.
I'm Miss Rose, commonly known as the snarky teacher, always ready with the good candy. The kids say I'm their favorite math teacher.
After school, it's lights, camera, action. During school hours, it's Miss Carter, the life science teacher saving lives.
We got the queens in the house, y'all. Real Teachers of Atlanta.
That's all y'all got to say. What you got? Go ahead.
Where do we begin? This is something that's been going on for years. So I think at this point, it's now hit the governmental level, where now it's not just controlling our narrative through the media, but now it's getting down to what we teach children. Because everything starts off with the children. So I don't even know where to even start.
So is it DeSantis or how do you say his name?
I mean, DeSantis. I don't know.
So as we know that he's trying, he has announced that he would be running for the presidential election, and everybody, based on the changes that Florida has been experiencing under his leadership, they're seeing that it's maybe trickling down to other states, adapting some of the practices that he has been putting out lately. I can't talk today. For an example, he's rolling out this initiative for taking out slavery in anything that relates to, the LGBT community. No, I didn't say all the letters, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Things that he feels like that students should be able to go to school without having all this type of information inside the textbooks. Well, it's interesting to me how he's going to be ruling out a lot of things, especially Black history. When you get to doing that, then you got to restructure the whole history system as a whole.
Well, I mean, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to flip your perspective. And the problem that I guess for me, the problem that I have with it is, one, we're not using curriculum anymore in Florida. Well, Florida is no longer going to be using a curriculum that is even backed by anything. It's just a company, PragerU, that they get to make curriculum. Like anybody can go make YouTube videos and string them together and say, this is my curriculum. And so literally this company, that's what they are doing. But what's crazy is they have the whole stay woke law now in Florida. And they have, all these things of no indoctrination, but literally what they are doing is what they're calling indoctrination, where they're trying to take away this perspective that, slavery was bad. And they're saying, well, we taught the slaves great skills that they were able to use. And the thing is, that has been refuted so many times because there's not a single descendant of a slave who was able to take those skills because they didn't have the rights to do anything. Just because you can be a locksmith or whatever doesn't mean that you could utilize those skills at the time.
Well, when we're talking about skills, what skills is he pertaining to?
I'm guessing it's maybe it was picking cotton or wheat or oranges, I guess, in Florida. I'm not sure which skills that he thinks are amazing.
If we go into the skills that they say that they gave the slave man, then we'll be unpacking for a long time because slavery built this country.
Correct.
Let's go and put that out there. But let's it's for this episode, it's just too much to unpack. What the thing of it is, you don't want to show the children of those or descendants from those past slave owners how their family really was. And we can't rewrite history. It happened. And if we're going to be in this society where children are growing up, they're learning, they have to learn about different cultures. They have to learn about where everybody came, everybody history in this world, because when they go to the job, aren't we getting them ready for the workforce? Yeah. Then these things, they have to be introduced early on. So don't get ashamed of what happened in the past now, because it happened. And when you're talking about taking out these books, are we going to take out Huckleberry Finn? Are we going to look at Toni Morrison? Really? Mm-hmm. So let's look at, especially if you come to Georgia, you're going to have to take the whole book out.
Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia. The whole side, all of it, straight through.
And then when it comes to high school, what are we doing about Shakespeare? When you talk about violence, when you talk about homosexuality, are we wiping Shakespeare off the map?
Oh, no, because that's European. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. But that's art.
I think I said this on a couple of episodes ago. When we're talking about educating our children, we have to educate our children.
At home.
I think that we have to look at our entire history. Slavery was a part of our history.
Right.
And the problem is that we don't know what happened before.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And we don't really understand what's happening now. It doesn't make sense for us to take any type of job advice or any type of skills or to learn, because he's insinuating that they taught us some skills. From a
king and a queen.
From
who fled
people,
their own country.
Well, and not even that, but coming out of the Dark Ages, couldn't even read and write.
Or wash themselves.
So, I mean, you're talking about during that time, civilizations on the continent of Africa and all around the world, because we traveled. We've used astrology, astronomy, mathematics, complex engineering, culture, sophistication, the use of, setting up a table, high tea. Those were our African customs. Exactly.
And a Bendigo.
Those aren't white European culture. So I don't really understand how they can teach us anything. When slave owners decided to, get a group of people, enslaved Africans, and even the indigenous people that lived here, because we were already here. A lot of us were. They got people who were healers, people who understood the land, people who were already able to sow and to heal, and spiritual people. So I find it very difficult to understand, but I get it, because a lot of us don't understand who we were before slavery.
Absolutely.
We didn't need any help. We taught the world. We are the master teachers of this world. And not enough of us understand that. Because unless I'm missing something, did he say anything about removing any books about the Holocaust?
No. Because that was their...
What about Columbus and the Indians?
Depression.
Exactly.
But the problem is that we don't... I'm not going to say we, because I ain't part of that. The problem is, or that I see, what he is trying to do and what other governors and other states are trying to do, especially here in the South, because the crazy part is we're not having this conversation in California or Washington.
That's
you know
more
what I'm saying?
Of a liberal.
But
yeah,
where we understand that this is this is what happened.
Right.
And I feel like that's part of the bigger picture, is we're trying to ignore what happened. But really what it is I'm focused on, I don't want this group to feel bad. I don't want you to feel a certain type of way or be seen in a certain type of light. So again, it's you're saying, in order to make them feel better, you dumb me down and you take away the things that you feel are abrasive and don't rub you the right way. And that's not cool.
I mean, the reality is that in order to tell our history, we have to tell their history too. I mean,
but they want to ignore that
part. It was a history that was together.
Right. That's why he made it sound good and said he taught you skills.
Hand in hand. And the thing of
that's what he's saying. So that's what he's saying. I'm going to teach it to you, but I'm going to just change the perspective. And that's the problem. He's not saying, and this is where people I feel like are kind of missing when you just talk about the curriculum piece.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's gone. This is what he's saying. He's not taking the history away He is changing the verbiage in which it is taught, the lens in which it's taught.
Watering
and that's
it
the
down.
problem. Because when you go from, hey, people were enslaved, they were beaten, they were killed, these people were raped and maimed and turned into wet nurses, and this was supposed to be okay. No, we taught you skills.
Yeah, but
This was a skill.
But you have to take all of it out, like I said before. But and it's not going to make sense that you're leaving some pieces in. Tell the whole truth. That's passed down for centuries. That's what's been happening. We're not telling the truth.
Correct.
And this is why history keeps in some ways repeating itself.
We on our way again.
But if you look back during slavery times, that was one of the things that they didn't want the slaves to do was read. And I just see this thing, like I said, history repeating itself. No, we're not slaves. Of course we're not slaves,
but
right?
Systemically,
in certain ways, what have you. But you are slaving me if you're not allowing me to educate myself as a youth on things that are problematic or things that have happened in my past or things that could be happening in my future. So you've taken these away from me. You're trying to enslave me mentally now instead of physically. So that's why I tell children all the time, it's so much that you can learn in a book. And because they're taking it out your schools or trying to take it out your schools, don't you be scared to go get that knowledge, find those resources because, they can erase everything.
I've heard it said a few times. I don't know who says this quote, but it's an enslaved mind is an enslaved person. When your mind, the more limited you allow your mind to be, the less you want to know, whether it's comfortable or not, you limit yourself. And that has no bearing on race. That's not a racial thing. That is a truth across the board. Yeah. But the problem is, there's a lot of problems with it. It's just, you gotta, like you're saying, you gotta want to know. You gotta learn it. And
but
some things, the basics have to be taught.
And that's the thing. You don't know what you're supposed to know or what you want to know unless you know that it's out there. So we're kind of indoctrinated with this idea, kind of going back to the enslaved mentality and who we were in this country and just all around the world. But it's this idea that we were only enslaved. And I kind of go back to that. And I know it sounds like I'm kind of like repeating it, but it's very important that we understand and that we teach our children. I keep saying
because that's the narrative that they have given our kids is, that's the first thing about Black people were slaves.
That they're
it's just not true because we are still kings and queens in some parts of Africa.
We are the global majority.
Yes,
Period.
we
You know
are.
what I'm saying?
And I think that it should be taught at some point. And when you look at the Jewish community, yes, they do teach about that. But they also go back and they teach their children about, okay, this is what happened. This is how we don't ever get back in this situation again. And they don't, I mean, this is just generalized, but I think there are a lot of cultures that don't depend on the school system to teach their children. Now, should the story of our history be a part of the curriculum? Yes, because it's a part of what makes this country what it is. Going back to what you said, Ty, we built this country, and that's just what it is. But what were we doing before? It's like watching a movie. You don't start a movie in the middle.
Right.
You start it from the beginning. So if you start our history from the beginning, you also have to start the European history from the beginning. And it begins to kind of tear down this, it's like the Wizard of Oz, where you go, when Dorothy and her friends went to go see the wizard, and he's not this big godly man, he's this small man in the back. And I think a lot of children have this idea that, oh, we were just enslaved and Europeans just enslaved us, and that's just how it
because
was.
They were
like,
so powerful, but no.
We had a very long history before. So going back, we have to tell their history. What were they doing?
Put it in the book, like you said, with the Wizard of Oz. People really miss the message. So I think they need to go back to
and try it again.
The Wizard of Oz.
It's coming out again.
So and just to piggyback, But go back about DeSantis, I guess it is a piggyback what you said earlier about the laws that he's trying to make. Mm-hmm. And one of the laws that he's made is about parents having rights. Well, my thing is, parents should need a politician to tell them that they should have a say-so in their child's education. That should be from the beginning.
But that's
when
already
their children
exists.
start. Like, you don't need a legal document to tell you that you are a part of your child's education. And I think that when all these politicians get to plan teacher inside the classroom, you can make all these laws for that, but you can't stop the local thugs from coming in and shooting your schools up.
You can't. Oh, well,
Ooh, okay.
Well, on that. Well, I mean, this is what it boiled down to.
Your teacher shortage.
Can't do that. Well,
you was putting unqualified people in the classroom about a year ago.
Still doing it. That has not stopped.
And you telling a teacher what they should teach?
Yeah.
And you don't even have teachers?
No.
Let's talk about it.
So there are so many things. So one of the things that you mentioned about the parents' rights. Parents been had rights. There's the Parents' Bill of Rights been around longer than DeSantis been alive.
Exercising the rights though.
That's the problem. But every parent got rights.
Yeah.
So for parents, for there to need to be another law that says you got the rights that the laws already said you had, and people still listening to this fool. And I'm gonna say it. That's how I see it. That's just the reality. We're listening to someone who's putting in laws that already exist. This not news. And even the other point I wanted to make was to go back to what you was talking about, Joy, how, we don't want to teach the whole pieces of the history. Mm-hmm. But if we really start talking about, because one of the things that I was taught in elementary school when I was in Europe is how the Europeans got over here. They didn't send their best qualified.
Okay.
That's what I learned. They didn't send the best qualified.
Yeah,
Columbus got lost. So he couldn't even follow a map.
He did get lost.
That's how he got here? You lost, you got here. And he unqualified.
I'm going to tell you all what I did one time when I was
just saying.
I subbed for a kindergarten class.
Oh, Lord, I did too, Jesus.
Or was it first grade?
Kindergarten.
And they were babies. And it was around Thanksgiving. And they had an assignment where it was like a Christopher Columbus assignment. I was appalled. So I stopped the lesson and I told these kids, I said, what I want you to do is I want you to draw pictures of these. I showed them a picture of like these indigenous, like Native American people. Mm-hmm. I said, these people were already here before he got here. Mm-hmm. So I said, I want you all to draw a picture of what you think their environment looked like before Columbus came in, because before the assignment that was given to me, the Native Americans weren't even a part of the assignment at all. Like, how in the world can you not talk about people who were already here? Yeah. I don't know what the teacher thought. I didn't even care. But there was nothing in me that could have just let this go on.
Correct.
And there are a lot of teachers that know a lot of things, but they're afraid to teach the curriculum the way that it's supposed to be taught, because they're afraid that they may go to the county, or they're afraid they might get pulled into the office.
But they are. That is happening.
Right, yeah.
It is happening.
And the government's running around here talking about CRT. And here we are, have a Christopher Columbus Day. Make it make sense.
Indigenous people.
They changed it to Indigenous people.
No, yeah.
But is it still Christopher Columbus?
It's Christopher Columbus on my calendar.
The one I seen too. A known abuser, a known murderer.
That goes back to that. But
he has a day. And we fought to get Juneteenth.
And we celebrating.
We fought to get Juneteenth.
When they said y'all got enough days, you get 28 in February and 29 in a leap year. That ain't enough.
Oh, are they going to take out Black History in Florida?
First of all, that was on the table. That's been on the table before. That's been on the table before.
Now, to me, a lot of, with some of, he's talking about the books. I don't know the name of this book, but it was some type of book with penguins, 2 male penguins, and they raised a baby. Mm-hmm. He feel like that shouldn't be in the school system. But a lot of times people tend to get civil rights and morals confused because, being gay is not a civil right issue. And we're not, Black history and gay rights. I don't think, that should be compared to one another. That's history that was made. So we're like I said, we're taking this out. We're taking civil rights history out, and we're keeping Shakespeare in.
Mm-hmm. Even though he was,
well, he was a part of that Renaissance. That was the rebirth of Europe. But that goes again. We're looking at history very episodically. I don't know if that's a word.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not looking at the totality of it. So where were Europeans before they came into the Shakespeare, Galileo, and all of the art and all of the alchemy? Who taught them all of those things?
That's a preference. If that's a moral preference,
right?
Going through what we're going through wasn't our, it
wasn't a choice.
It wasn't a choice. That's a civil rights. Now, morally, it should. Now, if you're gonna take homosexuality out of the schools because some of them have them in the books. Mm-hmm. Well, you need to take some of the good white folks out the books too, because that's a moral issue. If you can have somebody in slavery for 200 years, or you could take them from where they lived and bring them over here and put them in bondage, or come over here and mess with the Indians and give them all type of diseases and rape their women. That's a moral issue. So we like I said, we leaving them in the books too.
Well, yeah,
everything has to be rewritten.
But you have to leave them in the books as well, because when you're talking about slavery or the Moorish influence on Spain or whatever, you have to talk about what Europeans look like, what they not look like physically, but what were their actions like with the people who live there, and what were their interactions like with the Native Americans. How to shine a light on slavery, you have to shine a light on them as well. So going back to what Nikki was saying, they don't want to sit in the classroom and actually talk about all of the horrendous things that they have done around the world. Every single country has felt the wrath of white supremacy around the world. Haiti is still dealing with a lot of things, going back from the Haitian Revolution, which they refuse to teach about in school, which is very important, because it puts us in a light where we didn't just lay down and accept it. It was a warrior spirit in those people. And if you teach that to children,
they're going to have a what?
Warrior spirit.
Well, and then if you teach it to children, then they're going to think, okay, well, I'm not going to accept certain things. Now you have a trickle down effect.
Yes.
And that's not what they want.
It's just like the Montgomery Brawl. This thing, I know we all joke about it. That thing got me. But I saw 2 posts on Instagram that made me stop and think about it from a different perspective, because I know I don't order my earrings. They're going to be here. I thought it was wonderful. I was proud. I honestly was proud of my people, but this was why.
What are the earrings? Are they chairs?
Yes, girl. Got me some chair earrings coming.
They're foldable chairs.
Foldable chairs. I am. So, but this was what got me. That really stuck out. Is one person said it was an argument about people saying, I am not my ancestors. And I in relation to the Montgomery Brawl, and just to put it in perspective, and someone came back and said, you act as if your ancestors laid down, and they did not.
That.
It's a very good point.
You act as if your ancestors weren't the ones who started it and said, hey, you're not going to treat us this way. You act as if this is somehow like you're better than your ancestors, and then someone else brought up the quote on my ancestors' wildest dreams. Your some of our ancestors, their wildest dreams was to see us free. True. Some of our ancestors were exactly what we're talking about. They were the kings and queens, and where we sit today is not a dream for them. They've experienced that just in a different time period, right? But I thought it was so interesting to see the conversations amongst us, us saying, hey, your ancestors didn't just roll over and accept this.
Yeah, but that's what they're taught. We're taught that we're very docile.
That's the point. We were taught, no, you were enslaved for slaves for 400 years, and that's
power.
okay.
Knowledge is definitely power. And that's why they are trying to mess with the books. I mean, they've been messing with the books from the beginning of
To
time.
your children.
They have taken books out the Bible. This is what happens. This is what they do when they feel like you are learning too much. So don't act like this is just happening. This has been happening. Trying to rewrite history. It's going to come out. You could take them out the libraries. You could take them out the school system. But history is all around us.
You know the problem that we're having now? That this is why I feel like the attack is so strong, is that we are living in the information age where everything you want to know, any perspective, anything you want to know is a click away, and everybody, the least of these, has access somehow to it. That is the problem, because that's the thing you can't delete. You can't erase nothing from the internet. I don't care how hard you try. You can't. And people, you really think that you're gonna be able to do that? So that what you do is you attack the kids.
But Ruby Bridges,
you trying to take them all out. This is the thing when you change. They want it all out.
Ruby,
yes.
What Ruby did?
You trying to take my girl out?
How are we gonna know when? How are we gonna know? How will our kids? That's a part of history. How are you going to take that out of the classroom?
Because it's not important to
and it
them.
becomes divisive.
There you go.
It becomes divisive, and now we have a situation where they feel like we're not moving on as a country. We need to. It wasn't that
Let it go.
bad. It was
We
just.
taught you skills. We helped you out.
Yeah, we helped
fed you.
But
we clothed you.
We fed you. Did you? Are you not telling your grandkids
That they was had a wet nurse and she looked like me?
That your grandparents took, their milk from my ancestors. Why? That's a part of the history.
Can we talk about how people?
That's
We
part of
keep talking
history.
about how like it's a long time
Let's
ago.
erase that.
Why
Let's
we-
stop
it's not
trying
a
to
long
erase
time
that.
ago,
That
you
happened.
know?
Y'all, you have one group of people, just dislike black people so
bad.
much.
That's it.
But you needed those black nutrients to nurse your baby.
Because they was
I don't
dying at an
understand
alarming
that.
rate. Let's talk about it. Just like that's why we tried this abortion ban now, right?
And
'Cause
that's
your
what
birth
it's
rate's
all
low.
about, because you're so afraid that
'Cause we
you're
ain't having
going to
no
be the
problem.
minority.
Interesting. So wait a
But
minute.
you
So let's
already the
wait.
minority.
So let's talk about that though, because Republicans are really pushing the abortion, right? The stopping of abortion, and also pushing for the what am I trying to say? Stopping the LGBT community, the conversation about.
Because
It's
Adam
the
and Adam
birth-
can't make no child.
Well, not even.
That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah,
Sure.
and their birth rates are not.
Yes.
They're not producing as many
Correct.
babies as they were a long time
Because
ago.
women no longer want to have their rapist child.
And not even that. We're talking about science. We already know that recessive genes, when you mix with a dominant gene, you're gonna get what? I don't have to do the Punnett square for you. You know what type of baby you're gonna get.
Hey, and I know which genes is dominant.
So if you're talking about majority, we're not the minority. We're the
not.
majority on the planet.
Correct. You're going to keep on. That's okay. That's what I keep getting with us anyway.
Education is very important.
The thing is...
It's so important.
Correct. That's why... But the thing is, one thing about it is that we're not talking about people who are stupid about it.
They're very strategic.
It's a strategy. But I just feel like when we talk about curriculum, because one of the things that we talk about when we have curriculum meetings is make sure that your students are represented in your curriculum, right? So let's deal in reality. The reality is, if you in any classroom I go to, in any class I teach, I'm going to have students who are homeless. I'm going to have students who are in foster care. I'm going to have white students, black students, Asian students, Hispanic students. I might have students that don't speak English. I might have students in a single family household. I might have students in a household where they have two dads or two moms or nothing at all, who are being raised by auntie and grandma. My curriculum and the thing that those students as a whole have to be exposed to, according to what we talk about as far as like common practice, and this is what should happen. Everyone should be equally represented in the curriculum that you teach, regardless of the subject, right? So even in math, I have to make sure that if I'm going to use examples, that those examples are relevant to the students that I'm teaching.
Right.
If that's the case, putting everything else aside and just dealing in that, you can't erase any single group's history, because now you are no longer serving the students represented in that class. You take away the two penguins having a child. If you take away the books about students being adopted, even though we know that adoption, the people that are pro-life and don't want abortions also won't adopt children, because we can go there too. They're adopting, You don't want abortion, but you won't adopt. The fact that a rapist can choose the mother of their child. Let's talk about it. You're not representing none of that. Well, those things are real in any classroom. That's the reality.
What do you do what is the one thing that a human being does when they're fearful? Do they make rational decisions or irrational? These are irrational decisions and laws. Like that. The fear is so high. It's just they're just
what you're afraid of? What's the fear?
Slavery wasn't that bad. We'll just Europeans didn't have nothing to do with it.
Who says that?
It's like, what?
And why did you if it wasn't that bad, then why
address it?
Why have it for like
400 years? 400
because they think people are stupid.
And it wasn't
that's
even
why.
over 200 years ago. So why?
Fear, though?
Why?
What are you afraid
of? If it wasn't
That's
that bad, then why your mommy and daddy didn't do it? Well, and I am really, really disappointed in Florida as a whole state, because it's so many Cubans, it's so many Haitians, it's so many Jamaicans, it's so many Spanish people. All y'all done been through something. So why y'all allowing these things to happen? Because y'all all in the circle.
But that's not something that's specific to them. So if we're talking about certain issues that aren't specific to you, you're probably not going to say anything. The moral thing to do is say, hold on, wait a minute. Okay. But if it's all these different groups, and who's to say that maybe they have said something, but as a group, nobody is saying anything because it does not directly affect
y'all
them.
Got this man know his views and got him voted in.
And want to make him president? You think that's Florida going to be
But I'm just saying that, Cubans, y'all been oppressed. Like, everybody's been through some type of oppression. Probably not in the likes of African Americans or whatever the name they want to call us this year. However, I'm gonna just say this in closing. If you are against whatever, DeSantis or whatever his name is, I may be saying it incorrectly, go out, make sure that you're voting, go out, make sure that you're being heard. Your child is in the school system as well. And they have a right to know where they came from. And I said before, we know we had a previous CRT episode. It is your job at the house to send your child to school with their knowledge, with their background, and know who they are.
Yep. I still have my one question. We talk about people not making rational decisions when they have fear. What are we afraid of? What's the fear? What is DeSantis and all? What is their fear?
That you one day gonna wake up and realize that you just wasn't a slave.
You mean today? I'm gonna wake up today and say,
no. See, that's the thing. They already know.
That's correct.
People know more. They know more about our history than we know about ourselves, and that's the problem. So when you know more about a specific group, you're gonna do everything that you can to make sure that they don't know. Because the minute that you turn that light on, it's over.
There it is.
It's over,
and that's why there's an attack on your children.
That's it.
They ain't worried about your grown tail. They worried about them children that they got sitting in that class in the kindergarten.
You're talking about you're fighting education. You're fighting spirituality. You're fighting morality, science.
Yeah,
because like I said, we're the majority on the planet,
and that's fine if you want every child to be on the same learning board. That's fine, but in reality, that's just never going to happen because we came in with a deficit, just because how history was written. So even though you want kids to be on the same playing field, some kids just have an upper hand. And I said all that to say this. Now, if you want all the kids to start having a level playing field, then we got to stop all this other stuff, because we can't say, let's take this out. And then when we turn on the news, these things are still happening. I don't see how that's going to work.
Yeah, all cultures.
So
should
we have
know.
to change it all.
Yeah.
Should know who they are and how they're represented. Every culture should have the ability to tell their story, but ours is unique because they are a part of
They're
our
the
story.
oppressor in a story, and they don't want to be seen as the villain.
I mean,
I don't want your baby
no,
little
not
sister
even
to feel
that.
like a
Not even
villain.
that. They are at some point they're the oppressor, and we're the I guess the victim. But at some point they are the student, and we're the teachers. They are the babies that we are teaching. And, it's that switching of roles
we taught
that they
first.
don't want to talk about. Obviously,
The thing is that we taught them first. When
Okay,
schools
yeah.
were, we could talk about another episode. But when
Yeah,
schools
'cause
were
we're gonna need another
established,
one.
we
We're gonna have
were
to.
first.
We're gonna have to end
we
this one.
taught first.
that is very true.
Let's end it on a good note. All right, Joy.
Make sure that you comment down below. I know you all have lots to say. Please make sure that you like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Bye.